Zoom. So I wanted to apologize for my tardiness to the first part of the session. Over the weekend I set up had a mesh set up for my Wi-Fi, and I didn't switch my laptop over to that network, and so I thought my network was down, realizing that it was just the wrong one. So I've forgotten how to use Zoom and Wi-Fi and everything, which is actually good news to be back sort of in a quasi-analog world. So again, my name, while people are logging in, and Mala, I see your DM, so perfect. So I did miss the opening minutes of the group session, of the aggregate session. And so I wanted to just ask you guys, if they talked about the difference between dual degree and second majors in between schools, and whether or not that's something that is interesting to you guys. If they talked about it, great. It's kind of a rarity. Most people, and by most I mean like 99% of students who pursue programs in more than one division do a second major rather than a dual degree. But I did just want to bring it up. Anybody?
It would be great if you go over it again. Please.
Sure, I can do that. So, so essentially, and I'm just going to talk about arts and sciences because that's my school, but effectively, students who graduate from a school, in this case, the College of Arts and Sciences, they do a couple of things in order to actually earn that degree. And those things include having a certain number of units, right? So in the College of Arts and Sciences, it's 120 minimum units that students need in order to earn the degree. They also, some of those 120 units would be a major in arts and sciences. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing, again, specific to arts and sciences, is that another part of those 120 units would be our distribution requirements, right? So the larger liberal arts curriculum that is a hallmark of a liberal arts education. And so that's sort of the basics, right? The three main components: numbers, a major, distributions. And at the end of that, we award the Bachelor of Arts degree. When I have a student who's interested in a second major, okay, distinct from a dual degree, but a second major, that 120 units, right? There's some elasticity in there, right? Because a certain component is my major in arts and sciences, a certain component is my distributions in arts and sciences, and the rest of it can be whatever I want. And so that would be sort of a student who is interested in, let's say, a second major in the Olin School. They would use those whatever I want units, right, to go ahead and fulfill the requirements just for the second major in the Olin School. So let's say if I want to do a second major in finance, it would be just those courses for the finance major. And I think off the top of my head, it's about 14 courses. So about 30-40 units. So about a third of my coursework would be devoted to my second major in Olin, and that's terrific. In the end of the day, I have a Bachelor of Arts degree with a prime major in arts and sciences and a second major in the Olin School in finance. That's dual degree or double major. If I were to do a dual degree, though, I would actually be enrolled simultaneously, not as a second major, but in both schools. And at the end of my time at WashU, I would earn, and again, just for this example, both my Bachelor of Arts degree from Arts and Sciences and also a BSBA, a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration from the Olin School. That sounds great, right? So that seems maybe too good to be true. There are a couple of caveats to it. So instead of having 120 units, in order to earn both degrees, I need to earn 150 units. So we do anticipate a dual degree would take 5 years, although I would say that most of my students who do it maybe do it in 4.5. And then along with that, I would do a major in arts and sciences, just like with the double major that I was talking about originally. And also I would do a major in Olin, again, just like I was talking about. The differences and where the extra units come from is that I would need to fulfill the distribution requirements both for the Bachelor of Arts degree and also for the BSBA. whatever that happens to be, right? So they have distributions, just like arts and sciences has distributions. They have what they call professional requirements, where their students need to take a certain number of courses in all the various fields: accounting, marketing, finance, management, etc., right? So things beyond just the finance major in my example that I've been giving. Whereas if I'm doing a second major, one degree with two majors, I don't have to take all of that extra stuff. I do, in my example, just the finance courses. So the real difference is the extra 30 units of coursework, which is substantial, and probably something that we would expect to do over a year. Students typically at WashU average 15 units a semester, so we'd expect that to happen over the course of a year. And then also, in addition to the major in both school, you also needs to do the distribution requirements for both school rather than just for the one school. So you can see maybe why most people choose to do a dual major rather than 2 degrees, but it is the right decision for some people. So that's the way that works. And hopefully that helped. And I'll go ahead, and I have a couple of questions that are in the chat. One is, if you're enrolled, and I think you guys can all see this one, if you're enrolled in arts and sciences, can you do a second major in the engineering school? Depends on the major. And that would be something that Dean Kroger was commenting, that it really does help to have advice up front, especially for something like the School of Engineering. So again, my home school is arts and sciences, but I do hang out sometimes with those folks in engineering, so I know some things. Their whole program is structured quite differently from arts and sciences, in that it is very much so if I'm a student in arts and sciences, when I'm starting out, I'm maybe taking one course towards something that I think might be a major, right? I'm sort of doing some exploration. Most of our majors are a total of 10, 12 courses. So and most of them are not hierarchical, right? So yes, I need to do some intro level work, but once I get that under my belt, it's pretty easy for me to go into the advanced level courses, and maybe even to double up, right, on courses after I've done my intro level work, taking 2 courses in the same semester. Not so much in the School of Engineering. The School of Engineering, their coursework is a lot more sequenced and hierarchical than in arts and sciences. That's the nature of their curriculum. It's a good thing, right? I don't want my electrical engineers not having really robust networked coursework, given the kind of work that they're going to be doing. I like for my bridges to stay standing if a person is doing civil engineering. So it really depends on the major. I will say, and I was actually just having this conversation with one of my new students. This student is really interested in biology. They're an arts and sciences student. They're also really interested in biomedical engineering, which is a major in the engineering school. And it's a very sequenced major. There's a lot of overlap to begin with a biology major, but they add a sequence to the first year that we don't require our students to do. And so for that student, it's really in his best interest. And I'm saying this as somebody who hopes with my whole heart that he stays in arts and sciences, but it's in his best interest to do that first year curriculum, or at least the first semester curriculum, as if he were in the School of Engineering. Because if he doesn't do part 1, that means in the spring he can't do part 2, and so he would be a year behind. And so it's very easy to get off that track and come into the looser, more elastic structure of an arts and sciences degree than it is to go into something that's highly structured when you haven't started off at the beginning. So I always encourage my students, if they really are on the fence, that starting in, if it is one of the more structured majors in engineering, that they really should talk to somebody there and get in on that sequence to begin with. And again, it's really easy to get off that sequence if it turns out not to be for them. The exceptions to that would be computer science. A comp sci major in engineering is quite unstructured compared to their others. And also I think they have something called systems engineering, which is also something that I understand is quite unstructured compared to electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and certainly biomedical engineering. So Can I share some information about students in Sam Fox having a double major in arts and sciences? Yeah, that is an excellent, excellent question, especially as you're getting studio requirements, right? You have these big chunks of time for your studios in Sam Fox, and then you also, as a bio major, there are going to be quite a bit of labs that have big blocks of time that you're going to need to sort of work around. And I think the best advice that I have for that is twofold, really. Well, maybe threefold. So the first thing that I would say is make sure that you are open to maybe what you would think is atypical or unusual, or maybe not your first choice ideas in terms of scheduling, right? So here's an example. Couple of examples. First of all, a lot of the sequences in biology as a major do have laboratories, but you have lots and lots of options for those laboratories. So I was just meeting with one of my students earlier today, and she's a dancer. So she, in a way, is akin to Sam Fox, right? So the dance studios are in some ways akin to the art studios. And so she was trying to fit together like this, mosaic. And there's a chemistry lab that actually meets on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock. So she's a bio major and she's also a dancer. And once she's like, yeah, I could totally do that. And she went ahead and sort of slid that out of her draft worksheet for registration and moved it into Saturday. Everything just opened up for her, right? And so that turned out to be a really good decision for her. There might be other people who have other obligations on Saturday, and so that's not going to be an opportunity for them, but maybe there are evening labs or something that would work. So I think that that's really the primary thing, is to be open to flexible scheduling and sort of seeing how things can play out that way. I think the other thing that I would really be try to open, the other point that I would make is that in Sam Fox, you are going to have like distribution courses, right? That you have to do, for example, a natural science course. Well, great. If you're a bio major, you're going to be doing oodles of natural science courses, right? So I might be looking for ways that you can sort of use your second major in arts and sciences to fulfill coursework that is sort of required of you as a BFA student. And then along with that, for those slots that you have that are just sort of free slots, right? They're not for your Sam Fox courses, that are not for your bio major, just stuff that you like need to take in order to get units. I think careful selection of those courses can really go a long way. So if you've got, you're a junior art Sam Fox student, and you're doing these big, huge studio blocks, right? And maybe you're also taking physics that year that's got laboratories associated with it. Maybe that is not also the year to say, take organic chemistry or a biochemistry lab, right? Maybe that is time to maybe take something that's maybe a little less hours intensive, right? Since you do have these other courses that you must take that are going to take lots and lots of time. So I think that that's something else that, again, with some forethought, you can plan ahead. So again, I'm not sure that in arts and sciences, students can elect to take an elective course pass fail if they want, rather than for a letter grade. I think that's true in Sam Fox as well, but don't quote me on that. But assuming it is true, maybe those semesters when you have really heavy labs and studios, maybe that's a time when you would exercise that option to take another course pass fail so that you're still earning credits. But maybe you can just take a little bit of the pressure off the course. Gosh, I'm really not catching up. Is it possible to do two majors, one in art sciences and one and a minor in 4 years? Yes, it is. I have students who do that. And my advice to students, always like yourself, when they have lots of, first of all, plan ahead, see how it sort of try to lay it out, right? I know you don't have to know exact courses, right? But what I do with my students a lot is we sort of lay out a grid. We draw a piece of paper, we draw a line down the middle, and then 3 horizontal lines across. And so what that is fall, spring, right? First year, second year, third year, fourth year. Okay, so let's say I want to be an English major. I don't necessarily need to plan that I'm going to take, Shakespeare in this particular semester and my, modern American literature in this particular semester, but I do need to have an idea of how many classes it actually comprises. And I just put a little link in the chat. I'm a nerd. This is my favorite publication at WashU. It's called The Bulletin. Just a little caveat, we publish the bulletin every July 1st, and your rule book is going to be the bulletin that comes out next week, right? We don't change the rules very much from year to year. So this is a perfectly safe space to start, but just know that your bulletin is going to be the one that gets published next week. So in the bulletin, you can look up all the requirements for the different majors. So it's really, really helpful. And you can just kind of take a look. So for example, the English major happens to be 30 units. Our courses are typically 3 units apiece. And so that means 10 classes. So in my little grid, I don't have to know sort of which semester is which course per se, but I can go ahead and I can put English 1, English 2, English 3, right? And go ahead and sort of spread that out and fill in slots. Then I can do the next thing, right? My next major, I can go ahead and see how many courses it happens to be. I think you said Olin. And Olin major, second majors, that's important, happen to be, I typically 9 and 5 is 14 courses. And so I could just go ahead and sort of, again, Olin 1, Olin 2, and sort of spread those out. So again, I can just see how many slots are being taken up by those 2 majors. And then I would go ahead and plug in, see what's left over for my minor and my distribution. So often students find that ends up feeling like it's too crowded for them. And they say, I'm sorry, my cat is coming to join us. So if you hear meowing, he's wondering why I'm not feeding him. So I apologize for that. So a lot of times students will find that that's too crowded, and it's just like, oh gosh, I can do it, but I have no sort of, just because kinds of classes, and they don't want that. And other students are like, this is exactly what I want. It's perfect. And they just sort of, march through and they've got their plan. And so what I usually tell my students is map it out. We'll map it out together. We'll see like how you feel about it. And then you march down this path until something happens. Either you finish everything or it stops being fun, right? In which case you say, you know what, that second major is going to be a minor after all. Or, you know what, I thought I was interested in that minor, but 2 or 3 courses in that field is good, right? So that's how you make those decisions. Let's see, requirements for requesting a math major. Everybody, in arts and sciences, this is super important. We do not require our students to declare a major until February of their sophomore year. So there is no reason whatsoever to declare a major before you come on campus. In some ways, there's a reason not to, and this is going to sound funny, but if you have a major declared, you must meet not only with your 4-year advisor, but also with your major advisor. And sometimes just with scheduling, especially over the summer, that can be like really hard to do because people, especially faculty, they tend not to be around as much over the summer because they're off doing research. So there really is no real reason to worry about declaring a major in arts and sciences, frankly, the entire first year. I will say that most of my students declare a major in because they feel good, right, about what their major is going to be. And they typically would declare in September, October of their sophomore year, but they're not required to until February of their sophomore year. You don't have to have a major declared to go talk to somebody in the department, right? So you can go ahead and just, meet with one of the academic advisors in the department, meet with the director of undergraduate studies. You can talk to your professor, right? So if your professor is somebody, let's say you're taking an English course and your professor is somebody, it's a great way to get to know them. They have office hours, and you could say, wow, after you've got maybe a paper or two under your belt, right? After you've done a little bit of work, you can go to the professor's office hours and just say, gosh, I'm really enjoying your class. I'm really excited about these ideas, thinking about maybe majoring in this subject. Could you tell me some things about it, right? And faculty major advise, right? So they might not be your major advisor yet, but they do have major advisors and advisees rather, so they can go ahead and help you with that. If you're admitted to sociology, transfer student, excellent. I work with transfer students. So sociology, and you want to double major in economics, do you have to? No. So this is a really good question, and maybe a WashU specific thing. So there is the Olin School of Business. That is the B school, as we call it for sometimes we call it Olin for short, sometimes we call it B school for short, but there is the Olin School of Business. There is also the Department of Economics. Economics is in arts and sciences. So, and if I were going to double major in sociology and economics, which by the way is a fantastic double major, I would do both of them from within arts and sciences. Similarly, I could, if I wanted, do a double major in, say, sociology and arts and sciences, and then I could do a second major in the B school and something like marketing, finance, accounting, etc. And I would not have to apply to the Olin School for that. I would simply need to declare the second major and do that coursework. So hopefully that is clear. It's a little, I think that some schools, some other institutions may have economics and business sort of all folded together, but we do them differently. And Sarah, you might be interested in noting that, or knowing that when we revived when we revived our sociology department, the person who was really fundamental and instrumental in that revision and that reimagining is a man named Steve Fazzari, and Professor Fazzari is actually a professor in the economics department. So it was an econ professor who helped build our new sociology department. So there is not only is there a lot of overlap there, sort of generally speaking and disciplinarily speaking, but especially at WashU, it's just something that we put them together.
So Jennifer, just a quick follow-up on that. My question was not whether he for my son double major, but rather, does he need to apply? We live in the Bay Area, like UC Berkeley, there's so many few spaces, is there? No? Okay, perfect. That's what I want.
Yeah, it's no, and you wouldn't have
there's a limit.
Yep, it would be fine. So just fine. Fit my classes into each of my double major. I'm sorry, should I be trying to fit my classes into each of my potential double majors if sorry, my icon keeps getting in the way. If I know I want to do them. Sure. I don't know that you need to, it depends on the major, but for the most part, like one class in one semester is a good start. And that's, I'm sorry, one class in each major is a good start. So I'm just, again, using this as an example. If I want to major in English and economics, I take an English course, and one is plenty and one semester. And then maybe I would take calculus, because all Olin majors, regardless of what you end up majoring in Olin, will require you to take through calculus 2. And then maybe I would take macroeconomics as well, because in the Department of Economics, not in the business school, because all of all of the second majors in the Olin school will also require economics, macroeconomics. And so that would be sort of a good start. So you've got your math under your belt, belt, you've got your English course under your belt, and you've got one other course for your second major, and then you just sort of build from there, right? Make sure that you're still liking them, but you don't need to load up. And that's part of that sort of, I was imagining this diagram in space, right? Where you can sort of spread out your courses and see, oh, I don't need to do everything in my first semester. I can go ahead and be more deliberate and sort of build into my majors more slowly and make sure that in fact, I do want to go ahead and pursue both of them. How many credits are needed for a College of Arts and Sciences minor? Good question. Standard would be 15 credits or 5 courses. That's the minimum. Some majors require, some minors require more than that and require 18, but generally it's 5 or 6 classes. Usually 2 intro level courses, and then depending on the program, either 3 or 4 advanced level courses in that department. And again, you can, if you have one in mind, you can go to that bulletin.wustl.edu link, and there is literally a link, a menu item on the right side that says minors, all schools. And so you can go ahead and look at all of them, or you can open the Arts and Sciences page and just look up Arts and Sciences minors. And just make sure I'm going through the chat and making sure I didn't miss one. I did. I missed an early one. If you do a dual degree in 2 different schools and have to meet both schools' distribution requirements, could you have certain classes double count to fulfill distribution requirements in both schools? Yes, that is an excellent question, Liam, and the answer is yes. So back to my example. Let's say that I am doing an English major and I'm also doing a whole dual degree in marketing, right? In the Olin School. It is a requirement of arts and science that all students take college writing. It is also a requirement of the Olin School of Business that all their students take college writing. You only have to take college writing once, and it would go ahead and fulfill the degrees for both schools. Let's do another example. Let's go back to that Sam Fox example. Let's say that I am a sculpture major in Sam Fox. I'm getting the Bachelor of Fine Arts as one of my degrees, and I'm also going to do a whole second degree in Arts and Sciences. And I'm going to do it in biology, and I'm going to imagine I'm going to go to medical school and I'm going to be a reconstructive plastic surgeon, right? So I'm doing my sculpture major, I'm doing my my pre-med and my biology major. I'm going to end up with both degrees, both the BFA and the BA in biology. Perfect. Sam Fox does have, and I'm not sure the number, so don't quote me on this, but their students need to take at least 1 and maybe more, quote, natural science courses, right? I'm going to be taking all of those natural science courses as a biology major. And so those are requirements for my biology degree, but they would also go ahead and count for my natural science courses that are part of my degree distribution requirements in Sam Fox. So I hope that helps. Got another couple of messages, sorry, at the bottom. Can I explain how College of Arts and Sciences distribution requirements work? I can. It is a little beyond the scope of this particular meeting. However, I will be doing a presentation during orientation. I will tell you everything that you need to know. I think the most important thing that you need to know right now as a new Arts and Sciences student, frankly, is that we have them. We have them, and they're easy to do. There's a wide variety. Everything counts for something. And right now, the most important thing is that you take courses that you're excited about taking. And then the one other thing I would say is that you don't take like all of the same thing. So like, if I love literature, my PhD is in literature, but if I took 5 literature courses in one semester, I would probably not be happy. Similarly, if I love math and I would know I want to be a math major, that's fantastic, but taking 5 courses in the math courses in the same semester, I always think it's like eating a whole bag of chocolate chip cookies at once, right? Like chocolate chip cookie here or there, that's great. Eating a whole bag at once, not a great idea. So that's the one thing, is just to sort of spread things out, and the distributions, I promise you, they will happen. We always, all of us have like one area where we might have to just try a little harder, be more self-conscious about the way that we're more conscious about the way that we're making those decisions, but they will work out. And your advisor can help you with that too, your 4-year advisor. The difference between economics in the School of Arts and Sciences and then business school. Is it a BA or a BS? Any other advantage to one or the other? BA versus BS? No advantage one or the other. I was actually just talking with some of my colleagues about this just 2 weeks ago, and yeah, there's no difference. The main difference is so actually, it's going to amuse me if somebody from the Olin School actually listens to this. So I will tell you exactly what one of my students told me once. So I had a student who was doing a major in economics and arts and sciences, and a second major in finance in the Olin School. And I was talking to him about that, and I said, my comprehension of the difference essentially is that our work is primarily theoretical, and their work is primarily applied, which isn't to say that we don't do application and they don't do theory, but it's sort of where the emphasis lies. And I said, is that correct? And he said, yes. And also, they have rules. And I said, what does that mean? They have rules. We have rules. And he said that from his experience, isn't it delightful? They have rules there. From his experience, that there was a lot of attention to sort of like the detail and the process and the sort of the steps that you go through in order to work your way correctly through a particular problem, right? Whatever issue the course is focused on. And he said, whereas in his economics courses, he was finding more that what they were primarily interested in was not the how, but that you came up with the proper answer, right? And how you got to that answer didn't necessarily have to be didn't necessarily have a delineated path, and that you could sort of come at it from maybe more areas, which is really great for some people. They like having that sort of more flexibility, and other people, and there's something really gratifying, right, of knowing a really intricate process and being able to sort of work your way through it without missing a step, right? So anyway, that's the way that he explained it to me. So theory, practice, and they have rules. So in his language. Does that work? Anybody else have any questions? We still have 10 minutes. I will say that the double major, again, as I said, is much more common than the dual degree for perhaps obvious reasons. I will say that a substantial percentage of arts and sciences students do more than one program, whether that be 2 programs within arts and sciences, or an art sci program as their major, and then either a second major or a minor in one of the other divisions. And when I say a lot, I mean, I think it's over 80% of my students do some form of that. That said, only one major is required, and it's perfectly okay to have a major and then dabble, right? So, maybe art is something that you really just enjoy, or you think, you know what, I'm an educated human being, I should probably learn to draw. And, you want to go ahead and take a drawing class. that's great. That's wonderful. That's one of the hallmarks of WashU is that we have that flexibility. You don't have to do a whole second major, even a minor, just to get some experience in those other schools. And I think really taking advantage of that can be really wonderful. I just remember a few years ago, I had a student who was, she's an anthropology major. She was really focusing on archaeology, and she was going to go on a dig. She had been planning on going on a dig between her summer between her junior and senior years. And so in her junior spring, she took her first and only School of Art course. She took a ceramics course, and she did it on purpose because she knew she was going to be working with a lot of clay and clay artifacts on her dig. And so she just wanted to have some more experience with the material and, maybe think a little differently about how the people whose site she was going to be working on had, sort of worked with their own material culture. So it was just a way of enhancing that. And it was a lovely experience for her. And that's, perfectly valid thing to do. Are art science students seeking a major, minor, and Sam Fox required to submit a portfolio? I have never heard that. I've had a number of students minor, never heard them say that. The ability to do a whole second major in the School of Art is relatively new. I've had a couple of students do it, like within just like the last few years. I've had a couple of students do it. I don't remember either one of them ever mentioning to me that they needed to submit a portfolio. I'm happy to stay on. We have 6 more minutes, so I'm happy to stay on if anybody has any other questions or maybe a very specific question. But if you don't, you are certainly free to Zoom off. You're welcome, Leah. You're welcome. I'm glad it was helpful. I did see there was a question from T Surya. So, oh good, you're still here. Are there any limitations or restrictions on combining certain majors? This is going to sound weird, but if you stay within the same school, there might be restrictions. I'm going to give you an example, and you will know why there's a prohibition against this, because it really doesn't make any sense. But like, if I major in biology, I can't also major in neurobiology because they're the same department. They're just different majors within departments. So you can't, like, it's kind of like the same thing with 2 names. And so that wouldn't work. But otherwise, otherwise there aren't really restrictions. There are, I shouldn't say that, there is a specific rule. This is arts and sciences rule. I was describing the minor, and it's a typical minor is usually 2 introductory level courses and then maybe 3 or 4 advanced courses. A major has more variety, obviously, but essentially, kind of the same thing, a couple of introductory courses and then more advanced courses than a minor. We do have a rule in arts and sciences that those advanced courses cannot be double counted between the 2 programs. So if I'm going to double major in English and economics, right? Well, that's not a problem because there's nothing I could possibly take for the one that would also be eligible to count for the other, right? So that's not an issue. But if I am, let's say, an anthropology major, and I'm also majoring in global studies, and there's a course that I take that could count for either. It's an anthropology course, but it has a global studies angle to it. And so the global studies department would be happy to have me count that for the major. I have to choose and assign it either to anthropology or to global studies. So that kind of overlap can't happen. And that would be true also of if I were doing majors between schools that had some kind of overlap. And like, seriously, the things that like pop into my head are maybe if I did a physics major or a math major, and then maybe a couple of the majors in the School of Engineering, they might have a course or two that would be eligible to count for either one at the advanced level, but I think it would be relatively rare for that to happen. Yeah, absolutely. In terms of courses, so your arts and sciences is for Riley. Is Riley? Yes, Riley's still here. Riley, your arts and sciences advisor, your four-year advisor is, I'm sure, expecting you to make an appointment and have that conversation. I would also probably reach out. So Joseph, who was on the call, he can certainly help you. And I believe that another good person to reach out to in the Sam Fox School is Professor John Early. And so I just put, oops, I didn't put his name in the chat. I put his name in, sorry, John Early. And so he could probably also give you some help. Oh, you're looking at Sam Fox looking double major in arts and sciences. Well, sure. Even better. We have drop-in advising. I know this very well. We have drop-in advising in arts and sciences, and any one of the folks should be able to assist you, including me. What are you thinking about majoring in arts and sciences? And you can unmute if you want.
Hi, sorry.
Hi, Riley. You're fine.
I'm interested in majoring in environmental biology or biology, probably.
Perfect. So the bulletin will be very helpful to you. Most bio majors take chemistry, chem
Okay.
lab, math. We can talk about that later. We can talk about that offline. And then frankly, you'd want to do the environmental bio course. It's $29.50.
Okay.
That would get you started and get you through the bio major in 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when did you say, how can I find where the advising drop-in stuff is? I don't think I got a link for that.
Yeah, no, and I was, it's always dangerous for me to try to surf the web and talk at the same time. So,
Oh, okay, no, you're good.
and so Eric, same thing, they have drop-in advising hours in Olin. And I'm sure we can find it on Google.
Okay.
For the Olin hours, I'm not sure. Sorry, I have too many windows open all of a sudden. There we go. There it is. So here is arts and sciences link.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I feel like Olin, so they do something similar. I don't know what they call them though. I'm going to try undergraduate services. Oh. Yay. I found it. Isn't Google a wonderful thing? There you go, Eric. There's a link to their student resources. And on the right toolbar, they have all sorts of things about who they are and schedules, and that should help. Anybody else? All right. Well, thanks for spending part of your, what is it, Tuesday evening with me. I appreciate it. Riley, please tell me you're not going to be both a sculpture major and pre-med with an idea of going on and becoming a reconstructive practice surgeon, because that would be too weird. That would have been too weird.
No.
Okay. Excellent. Well, wonderful. And if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I learned the other day I'm no longer the only Romney on campus. There's another one of us now, but I'm the only Jennifer Romney on campus. So you see my name there in the Zoom square. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.